I'd love to draw your attention to this link related to form inputs in Google Colab. This was created by the Google team, kind of showcasing what we can do with form inputs. So the following stuff is like Google Colab magic. It's not necessarily in Python. So if you were to run Python locally, you would have to use different tools to get some kind of form menu like this. But because we're using Google Colab, they have a lot of cool capabilities. So here in this forms example notebook, they show us how we could ask for a number of different inputs like strings and stuff like that. Here's a follow-up to a question from a student last class. Like if we wanted to do like a number input, there might be a way to do that input in Colab by allowing raw inputs. And so here's like kind of like an input where we could type our own number. But anyway, we see some examples here, but there's a lot going on, and what you will see is that these form inputs are governed by comments in many cases. So far we've been focusing on what Python to write, and only the Python matters. And we write comments just to kind of give ourselves some context about something or explain something, and comments are generally not functional. So we can write whatever we want. But if our Google Colab cell, I guess, has a @title comment at the top that will help us make a form, is that necessary? Let's see. I think that @title, it just gives a name to the form, so it's optional. So I guess all of this form input stuff is coming in the comments to the right of some variable name. And so it's kind of weird. If we want to implement this ourselves, I'll show you how I usually do it, because I wouldn't necessarily remember like, oh, @param, and then what does that need to look like? Instead, there's an easy way for us to quickly add a form into any notebook that we're working in, and then you can kind of remove all the stuff from the form that you don't want. So the way that I like to do this is I'll show this in our in-class cheat sheet, which I'll drop another link to. Implementing a drop down in our cheat sheet. So maybe somewhere down near the bottom, I'll just add a section, and we'll see how we could do this. And then we'll talk about the benefits of doing something like this. So I guess we talked about the input function. I'm just going to create a section at the bottom related to like Colab form inputs. So again, this is just a Colab thing, not a Python thing. And the way that we could do this is take advantage of one of these menus on the left. You'll see that there's a number of menus on the left sidebar, and we have already, in our intro class, we took a look at like the file system and maybe some and the outline. But another one of these menus on the left is, it has like this, let's see, this one at the bottom, code snippets. So it's on the bottom left. So if you click on code snippets, you'll see in Colab, it gives us a number of potential snippets to do things. And so these snippets might be interesting to take a look at. The one we'll be taking a look at is form fields, but I guess we can capture inputs from a camera, or let's see, interface with Google Sheets. That might be very fun. And so there's other options for us here in terms of some snippets, some boilerplate snippets, like interfacing with your Google Drive could be really cool and powerful, especially for your final project. So anyway, the snippet that we'll focus on right now is adding form fields. So if you ever want to add a form into your notebook, you could come into the snippets menu and then add a form field. And then it gives you all this stuff. And maybe there's a lot of stuff going on here, maybe more than we need. I guess they show us some examples of, for each one of these form fields on the right, here's how you would do it. On the left, what I'd like to do is just focus on the drop-down menu, if we have one. I think right now we see a drop-down menu of days. So let's just focus on this drop-down menu. I'm actually going to get rid of everything but this pick me day. So there's a lot of stuff going on in here, but let's try to focus a little bit. I guess all we really need is something like this. So so far it's just a variable and a value, and that should be okay. Hopefully we're cool with that. X equals 5. Flavor equals ice cream, flavor equals vanilla bean or something. What we'll see happen is that in comments, using this weird @ sign following the comment character, and then the @ sign is followed by the word param. I guess this means, hey, we can use the following parameters or the following options in our drop-down menu. And now after this in the comment, here's where we can define a list of items. Again, we'll work more with lists next week, but we've already started kind of using them at least to hold a list of values. We were dealing with the random module last class and asking how to select one value from the list at random. So we kind of have a little bit of knowledge about lists so far. And it's inside a list that we can add a number of comma separated items here, I guess. Right now there's Monday through Thursday, but if we wanted to add Friday, we'll just add on to this comment. So like after Thursday, we could just say like comma and then Friday in quotes. And if we don't do it right, I guess it's going to yell at us with this error message. But once we configure this properly, now we've added that as a potential day to select. So that's a note about the valid values here. We're denoting them in some kind of list, but it's all happening in a comment character. So the syntax here is specific and important. So maybe we'll say like, please choose a weekday. And now this would be a valid form input in Colab. So after we've set up the form, the drop-down menu, what we see when we actually select one of these values, I'll just like print the pick me value, I guess. Once we select this value, it actually magically, dynamically changes what value is being stored in our variable, which is super weird. It's not Python, it's kind of some Colab magic. So I'm going to select Thursday, and we'll see this word right here, Monday, changed to Thursday to reflect the selected value, which I think is kind of cool. I'm not sure how it works. I think there's some JavaScript under the hood that's connecting these. And so what we can see is that this drop-down menu is like a nice interface way of just defining a variable. And so when we choose Thursday, we see pick me is Thursday. And now when we run this, we print that variable name, it's Thursday. And then when we select Tuesday and print it again, we'll see Tuesday. So what would be the benefit of using a dropdown like this? Especially as it pertains to like user experience and stuff we talked about last class. Exactly. If we were asking for a user input, the user could type anything, and maybe they'll, for example, like if we say day equals input, please choose a day of week. What is to stop the user from messing it up? Print day. And so there's always the opportunity for them to mess up, either spell the day wrong or just kind of not understand what's going on. So in this case, if we let the user input anything they want. We then have to compare the value that they chose, see if it's valid or not. Is this in our list of valid choices? Okay, if it is, we'll continue. If not, stop or don't do anything. But the nice thing that we heard about this dropdown is it kind of does some of that validation for us. So we don't have to worry as much about separately validating the choice. All right, that was it. So I hope that was fun. Just introducing you to some other parts of Google Colab. And any questions about those form fields? Any other questions before we move on?